Now looking ahead to some big home spots for teams, potential bounce back spots. For one on Saturday. This one, not so much. I'm really curious to see how you potentially see this game playing out. We talked about Alabama, Nick Saban. We're not talking about the football team right now. Alabama basketball with Nate Oates projected to be around a 2-point road favorite at Mississippi State. And speaking of schedules, the Tide have played one of the toughest non-conference schedules in college basketball among Power 6 teams. Now they face a Bulldogs team that just knocked off Tennessee last night. Alabama coming off a blitzkrieg win against South Carolina. You think about defending the paint. Alabama actually does it at a little bit more of an efficient rate than what I expected looking at the numbers. But now you're going up against Tolu Smith, which is a completely different animal. So how do you see this Alabama-Mississippi State game potentially playing out?
Well, I think this is where you can go back and you can look at past games. And I think you can learn some of the story from there too. Mississippi State plays Alabama very well. They're a physical team. Tolu Smith is healthy. They've got a deep team. The problem for Alabama is, again, are they going to be strong enough, and do they need a double team when that ball's going into the post? You know, their post defense has gotten better, but it's not where it needs to be. Their guard play is fantastic. They've got guys that can score. I'm not talking about the offensive side. I'm talking more about the defensive side. And Mississippi State can control pace. You know, when you go into a game, Mississippi State can turn it up, they can slow it down, and they can pound you. And Alabama wants to play fast. They may have to force the pace in that game to try to get some transition plays, because obviously they got great guards. I mean, great guards. And Rylan Griffin is the guy that can change the game one way or the other too. I mean, he's 4 or 5 threes in a row due here at some point in a game, because they have so many guys that can score at Alabama. But I see Mississippi State being physical, getting up into the ball, driving the ball, posting up the ball, trying to get the ball inside in transition, and really, really go at Alabama inside of that paint. And Mississippi State's for real. They were for real before Tolu got healthy. I mean, he's a bona fide NBA prospect. I don't know where you would project him yet. I think it's too early to tell on that. But he wins and he plays, and he can do a lot of different things. And Chris Jans is a heck of a coach. I mean, he really is. Chris Jans is one of the most underrated coaches going. But I say that, and I say, even going back into November, I picked Alabama as a team that could get to the Final Four, and they got beat by Ohio State. I didn't care. I still think they're a Final Four capable team. But I think that game in Mississippi State is going to be really, really hard.
Yeah, and in particular, you were talking about transition, or at least Alabama trying to push the tempo, trying to enforce that quick pace. Mm-hmm. And you look at three-point efficiency, Mississippi State has only allowed opponents to shoot around 27% from three, which you would expect at some point, because I was looking at this too on Synergy, opponents shooting just 28.6% on unguarded jumpers. You would expect that to rise eventually if you buy in to regression, and Alabama is certainly a team that could cause your three-point defense to regress. But as you said also, if Mississippi State really slows this game down to a halt and they control the tempo and get Tolu Smith a bunch of touches inside, then it's going to be difficult for Alabama to win the battle of pace and get open threes against.
But I don't know if they have to slow it down as much as when they get into the half court, they've got to go to their strengths. You know, I still think Mississippi State runs. I mean, they're athletic. They got a lot of guys. They want to get up and down the court. But I think what you have to recognition is going to be key in that game. Do you have the break or do you not? And now if you go into a jump shooting game with Alabama, 8 times out of 10, you're going to probably lose that game. Okay. But if you go into a situation where you're trying to get the ball inside, get into the paint, get to the foul line, muck it up, so to speak, that way, you know, that's big. Like that has to happen in so many of these games when you go on the road and you can't keep up with that pace. You got to change the pace to get it in your favor. So if they want to play methodical basketball, you got to bring pressure. If they want to play really fast, you got to muck it up and try to get to the foul line so you can set your defense. You know, there's every game is different, and Mississippi State can play a lot of different ways. But if they play too fast with Alabama, then that's just playing it into their hands, because they're way too good at that. Alabama, way too good. If you want to run with them, they're great at that.
Great points. And you also wonder if Grant Nelson is going to see that three-point efficiency rise too. To your point about Alabama playing the way they want to in the half court, missed some big threes against Creighton and Arizona that could have potentially flipped both games, or at least brought Alabama a little bit closer in that second half against the Wildcats.